Ladies and gentlemen, we have a wonderful opportunity today. Thank you for being with us. This call is going to take a different format to normal. It is going to go a little longer, so I'm mindful that, Madeline, you mentioned you were popping out afterwards. You've got your hat and ready to go, but this call is being recorded, and it's going to be a very special call and one worthwhile listening to. I have a good friend on, a new friend. We met on a virtual event not that long ago where I was speaking, and John Livesay reached out to me and we connected. He is also a best-selling author. Not only is he a best-selling author, and he talks about how we can become masterful storytellers. And this is something that is so critical because in our business, we need to be masterful storytellers. And not only is he a great author and a great presenter, he's also hosted, facilitated, spoken at TED events. He is a very, very well-recognized speaker, trainer, coach in this space of improving communication skills, specifically within this field of getting your pitch right, of telling your story well, and so on. I want you to know up front, this is not a sales call. No. Okay, so please, if you have any concerns, I know some people had a recent experience previously with some guests on. This is not a sales call. This is a chance to get to know John. Of course, if you want to connect with him afterwards, I would encourage you to do that because he's just a great man to be connected with. Thanks. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass the time over to you, John, and tell us how you're doing, John.
Well, it's an honor to be with you again, Ben, and all of your friends. And I want to open up with a story because that is an example of how we pull people in. So I want you to picture me at 19 years old, sitting on my lifeguard perch with zinc oxide on my nose, mirror sunglasses, and a whistle around my neck. I thought I was hot stuff, when really my job was mostly just telling kids not to run on wet cement. However, one afternoon, there was a 12-year-old girl on the edge of that diving board, looking down with a great deal of fear. And I thought to myself, oh boy, this is probably her first time jumping off. That alone made me sit up on the edge of my lifeguard chair. And she finally got the nerve to jump off, and then I start counting. 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, woo-hoo-hoo, 2 seconds too long underwater. She gets up, she's flailing and coughing, and she's so panicked that I know she wouldn't even see a buoy if I threw it to her. So I dove off my perch into the water, pulled her to the side, and while she was scared and choking, I knew she was going to be okay. Now that event happened many years ago. However, the lesson I learned was to not panic and stay calm when stressful situations come up. And we've had many stressful situations come up as a world lately with things being disrupted. And so that opening little story there is an example of how you pull people in to get them to want to lean in and listen and learn more. So my whole goal today is to give people an experience of the power of storytelling, because if you open up your presentations when you are trying to, convince someone to become a partner or buy your product or service, and you open up with something that's not a story, people start checking out because we're wired for stories. So here's my big takeaway if anybody's taking notes. People buy emotionally and then back it up with logic. And the problem most people think is, oh, I got to get you to know, like, and trust me. How many times have you heard that, Ben? Like, that phrase is around forever, right?
It's been around forever. Yeah, we're constantly being told that.
And the problem with that belief, and it's not your fault if you believe that, it's what everybody hears, is you're like, oh, you got to get to know me? So let me just tell you everything about me, my company I'm representing, and all these products I have. And the reverse is true. We have to start with the gut, which is trust. We must build trust first. In fact, Ben, did you know that the handshake came about to show we didn't have a weapon in our hand?
That's right. That's right.
So it literally is that, is your email safe to open? you all trust Ben. He's been kind enough to introduce me to you. So he's passing on the trust you have with him to me. That's the joy of building trust. Social proof, whatever it is, you have a book, or whatever it is you've done that makes people feel it's safe. The fight or flight response can calm down. Then it moves to the heart. Do I like you? I'm not going to buy anything from anyone I don't like. And so Tim Sanders wrote a great book called The Likability Factor. And in his research, he shows that doctors spend more time with patients they like, and teachers spend more time with students they like. So how do you up your likability factor? And Ben has it in spades, so he makes it look easy. You know, you talk to him for 2 minutes, you like him, right? What is he doing? Empathy. The more you show empathy for someone, the more they feel like you're in their shoes and you care about them as people. And here's the big thing to circle and underline. The better you explain someone's problem, the better they think you might have their solution. So if you've been in somebody else's shoes, and that's what caused you to start using a particular product, or then they go, oh, well, you've been on this journey. The whole goal of this is to get people to see themselves in your story.
John, can I just reiterate what you just said there? Because
yes, please.
You've kind of blown my mind a little bit with that statement. You just used, to me, a major power word. Because you're right. People react to us, respond to us, the more they like us. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's a given. But when you ask that question, how do we make ourselves more likable? And you nailed it with a single arrow, one word: empathy. That to me is just a, you know, as we can express love and concern and be genuinely interested in the needs of others,
yes,
the world changes, doesn't it?
It really does. And I want to make a distinction between sympathy and empathy by, guess what? Another story. So when I was selling advertising for Condé Nast, I would go call on different ad agencies and clients, and I'd walk in and I'd see a situation with a receptionist, and there's maybe some other salespeople there. The FedEx person was there. The phones were ringing off the hook. And I would see how different people, some people would be rude. They're like, I've got a 2 o'clock appointment, you know, cut ahead, right? And then some people would say, oh, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have a 2 o'clock appointment. That's still not empathy. So what I made the conscious decision to do was I said to this receptionist, wow, you must feel like an air traffic controller today. Whenever you have a minute, let me know. And she stepped back and she goes, God, I kind of do feel like an air traffic. Yeah, I've elevated you from a receptionist to an air traffic controller, controlling all these different people and planes and phones, and you saw me. So then I go out, I give my little presentation. The client walks me back past the receptionist to the elevator. Thanks for coming in. Turns out I found out later that the receptionist said, I like that John guy. And the client said, so do I. And I got hired, and they bought what I was selling, in that case advertising, because I was nice to the receptionist and I showed empathy for the receptionist. So we're always on. So we go from the gut, is it safe, to the heart, the empathy, to the head. And here again, Ben, it's still not, okay, now it's my time to push out a bunch of information. Here's the unspoken question that everyone has when you're presenting your opportunity. Will this work for me? They won't come out and say it, but they're thinking it. And that's why it's so important that we tell a story that someone else can see themselves in. And I can give an example of that if you like, but I just want that to really sink in. We're flipping know, like, and trust to trust, like, and know. Easy way to remember that is gut, heart, head.
Yeah.
So, you know, if anybody wants to post in the chat anything they've gotten out of the first 10 minutes, I always love to hear that. What's resonated, you know, obviously for Ben, it's how do I increase my likability with empathy? So if anything's resonating with you, it's really helpful for me to go, oh, I like this gut, heart, head thing, or I'm no longer going to push out information, or, well, maybe I need to start telling more stories. So,
yeah, let's fill the chat up here. Let's please give some comments to what John's been saying. it's very interesting because there is a tendency to lead with information and to give too much information, to saturate
Yes.
people, with too much information versus going through that process, being a little bit more relaxed in the experience, because there's an anxiousness that sometimes comes. Someone's willing to
Yes.
talk to me. Excellent. I've got to seize the moment. I'm going to jump on it now and make it count. Yeah, and they over egg it. Their over enthusiasm can come out and misrepresent the opportunity, the person, and then the needs of the individual. So this is
Yes.
good. So
Stories are key. People are wired for it. Yes. Gut, heart, head, a great picture. It's a nice visuals for us to think about.
yeah,
What do we do? Thank you.
yeah,
Well, what I would love to do is work with people on their actual individual pitch later on, so that they could actually leave here with some great takeaways of, yes, everyone cares about, there's a radio station, WIFFM, which stands for What's in It for Me? And when you ask questions, you can get an understanding, right? And then the father of storytelling, oh, that's very kind, John and Maui-san. This What's in it for me? So I've worked with tech companies and architecture companies and people who are selling products through multi-level marketing. And the opening phrase you say, whether you're in front of 5 people in your living room or key decision makers, a lot of people go, well, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm excited to be here. You notice I didn't say I'm excited to be here when Ben welcomed me, right? Because why? It's not about me. It's about you. No one cares that I'm excited to be here. So if you're saying that, I want to invite you, because so everyone says it and people, they tune out. Like, I'm going to tell you a story. Ooh, maybe it'll be entertaining. As we said, we're wired for it. But if I'm going to give you some information, then you kind of fold your hands like this. So do this for me, everybody on the camera. If you got your camera off, turn it on for a second. Fold your arms like this. Now try it the other way. Doesn't that feel weird? Now pretend you're praying, and then switch it, and that even feels weird. So we tend to do things the way we are in a comfort zone. And so if your comfort zone is pushing out information, it's going to feel a little awkward to shift to storytelling, but I promise you, it's going to make a world of difference. Distinction educators, how do we share our story and that they want to link through us? Yes. When we tell a story that people see themselves in, then they go on the journey with us. So I'm going to give you an example. I was working with Olympus, the camera company, and they have a medical division where they make medical equipment with cameras that go scoping down your throat under surgery to see if you have cancer or not. And I said to that salesperson, what are you saying to get the doctors to want to buy your equipment? She very proudly said, our equipment makes the surgeries go 30% faster. And I said, well, that's a nice benefit, I guess, but there's sure no story there. And then they make the doctor do the math in his head about how much more money he might make or the hospital might make. And I said, let's zoom out a minute. What does that even mean? I said, how long is the surgery without your equipment? 2.5 hours. So do the math for me. What's 30% faster? An hour and a half. So then I got the specifics of the story. And here's what she now says to potential doctors who are considering buying her equipment. She tells a story of another doctor she helped. And again, if you're taking notes, here's something to write down. You're not the hero of the story. Your clients are who've bought your product. You're the Sherpa helping somebody climb Mount Everest, or if you're a big Star Wars fan, you're Yoda. Right? So the story goes like this. Imagine how happy Dr. Higgins was at Long Beach Memorial last year when he was using our equipment and he could go out to the patient's family in the waiting room an hour earlier than expected, where every minute feels like an hour to those people, and tell them their loved one is going to be okay. They didn't have cancer, they didn't find it. And then the doctor said to me afterwards, oh, that's why I became a doctor, for moments like that. And as she told that story about the doctor who was working with her and her equipment to another doctor, he said, he so saw himself in the story, he said, That's why I became a doctor. For moments like that, I want your equipment. It wasn't the statistic that got him to want to buy. It was that emotional, I remember why I became a doctor. And the empathy I described, if you've ever been someone who's been sitting in a waiting room waiting for a loved one to come out of surgery, you know every minute feels like an hour. And so that's an example of turning a story into something that you do. So I think it would be really interactive and fun if somebody would volunteer, or I could just do it with you, Ben, if you prefer, and say, we call them case studies or testimonials, right? And I want to work with somebody and turn a case study into an actual case story, because what happens if you just give information, like, yeah, we had somebody, they took this, they feel better, whatever. They don't remember, but stories make you memorable. Because how many times have you left a meeting or a presentation or a phone call or a Zoom call or an email and you go, I don't think anybody's going to remember what I said. I gave them too much. I gave them a bunch of people don't remember. They remember the story.
Mm.
So the elements, let's break down why that story worked for this salesperson. There's 4 parts, and I'll type it in the chat. The exposition. That's the who, what, where, when. You got to paint that picture like a journalist. You'll notice I said the guy's name, what hospital he was at, and how long ago it was. So all that pulls you in. Then you describe the problem. And remember I said the better you describe the problem, the better someone thinks you have their solution. A little emotional hook. And then you describe the solution. And then the resolution. What is life like after that patient, his family has been told the doctor is feeling good about himself? That's the rest. Think of the Wizard of Oz. We all remember that wonderful scene at the end where Dorothy comes home and she's like, oh my God, and you were there, and you were there. And that's the resolution to the Wizard of Oz. If the movie ended with her just flying back to Kansas in the hot air balloon, it wouldn't tug at our heartstrings as much. So that's the biggest mistake I see people making, Ben, is they don't have a resolution to first, they're not telling stories. Yeah. And then if they do, they don't have a resolution to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you and I do one and then make everybody feel comfortable. So okay. Let's give me an example of someone who is bought from you and what you're currently saying or what you think people are currently saying. Let's see if we can tweak it a little bit.
Okay. I've got a lady in her early 50s who has a bad lower back, and she has bought from us our back flex. It's you put it in the elastic of your trousers, and it just helps with the magnetic technology to alleviate the discomfort and what have you.
Okay, got it. All right, so now we get to dig in. Confidentiality, just make up a name of this lady. Give me a name of her.
Sarah.
Well, you can even say, I'm working with a woman, let's call her Sarah, so people know it's not true, right?
Okay.
She's in her mid-50s. And where does she live? What part of the country?
She's in California.
She's in California.
Yeah.
And how long has she been struggling with her back pain?
Gosh, a number of years, probably about 15 years.
Right. And it just got progressively worse, I'm guessing?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
She just learned to live with it.
Yeah. When did she start using your back flex product?
About 9 months ago.
Okay. And now the solution is she's feeling 50% better, 10% better?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. Yeah, I would say, I don't want to say 100% better, but 75% better. She uses it whenever she needs to have long walks or get out. Just her sense of mobility and her ability to make choices to exercise and be active.
Yep.
That has changed. Yeah.
All right. So here's how I would take those details and turn it into a story. Got a little more meat to it.
Yeah.
And hopefully a little bit more of emotional tug.
Yeah. Yeah. Please.
A year ago, a woman, let's call her Sarah, she's in her mid-50s, came to me and said she had lower back pain And she'd been struggling with this for 15 years. And it just got worse and worse. Her quality of life got worse and worse. She could no longer go outside and take walks without being in pain. Her friends would say, hey, let's go do something. She was like, I can't. And she's like, I'm only in my 50s. I didn't expect this kind of pain until my 80s or 90s. And she tried everything and nothing was working. So when she came to me and said, do you have anything that you think could possibly help me? I said, actually, we do. We have this product called Back Flex. It's a magnetic technology. You wear it and you forget it. Nobody even knows you're wearing it. She's like, that'd be amazing, because I've tried all kinds of things that I have to wear on the outside and feel very self-conscious. So this is invisible to people, don't know I'm wearing this. Yeah. And now I'm happy to report that 7 months later, she's 75% free of this back pain that was debilitating her quality of life. So now when someone says, hey, you want to go for a walk? She can joyfully say yes. And if that sounds like the kind of journey you'd like to go on, or you know someone experiencing back pain and that might want to try this, let me know.
That's
See,
wonderful.
The closing question is not, do you want to buy? It's, does that sound like the current journey you'd like to go on? That's about the contrast of the differences and the details of how storytelling has turned this case study into, or testimonial into, a case story. Did you start to see yourself, and you see the better I describe those problems of having back pain, instead of just saying, oh, she had back pain?
Yeah.
We really got into details of how that impacted her.
That was fantastic. And again, the journey that you take people through is emotional again, isn't it? It's leading with feelings and just helping people relate, understand, empathize. That key word again. Was really good. I've got someone that wants to play, John.
Wonderful.
If that's okay. So Barbara Bertucci, do you want to unmute your line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey. Excellent.
Hi, Barbara.
Hey. Hi, John. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. All right, so let's hear your case study or story, however you want to phrase it.
Okay, study. Okay, so I have a new gal that just came on board, and she purchased the water pack. And she's got several ailments and things, but what's happened for her is she's proceeded to lose about 10 pounds. She feels better. She's got all her energy back, and she's starting to collect and make purchases toward her wellness home.
Wellness home?
Yeah.
Yeah. A wellness home, for your context, John, it's a collection of our products. The products that we have in Nikan all kind of take place within the home. So you've got sleep systems to help you have a better night's sleep. You have water systems for the shower, water to drink, of course.
Yep.
We've got air purifiers that clean the air that we live in and around us and what have you. So
nice. All right, that's very helpful. Barbara, let's give this, instead of saying I have a new gal, let's give her a name.
Marie. So I have Marie, and she started less than 3 months ago.
Okay.
And actually, her name was shocked herself how well she's doing and waking up less stiff and achy, having dropped a few pounds just on the water. I mean, that's what she told me.
Right. And is this water pack a pill you take and it helps?
Oh, no. Water to drink.
Water to drink. Got it.
It's a water filter system that makes you alkaline. And living, and I say pack is she's also showering in it.
Nice. Okay.
So she was shocked herself and sharing with her friends and family. And I just wanted to.
Yeah. All right. So let's pretend that you're in a situation where, someone says, oh, do you have any examples of other people who have bought this? Right? Or you're presenting in front of some friends or friends of friends or what have you, right?
Right.
So I said, do you say her name was Anne Marie?
That's fine. That's good.
We're just making up a name anyway. And how old is Anne Marie?
Probably mid-50s.
Mid-50s again. Okay, got it. 3 months ago, Anne Marie came to me and she said, I am really achy when I get out of bed in the morning. That never used to happen. And then I used to be able to take a shower and suddenly start to feel better. And that's not even helping. And, you know, I try to drink enough water, but, you know, I'm just either drinking tap water or maybe I'll splurge and get some bottled water. But I really don't know if my problem is dehydration or what, but you know, and talk about weight gain. I feel so bloated all the time. And so I said to Barbara, you know, our bodies are mostly made up of water. She goes, oh, God, that's right, I forgot. So doesn't it make sense that we start the healing process, whether it's aches and pains in the morning or feeling bloated and not being able to lose weight as fast as we once did when we were younger, that we start at the source of what we're mostly made up of, which is water. So Barbara started using this water filter to improve the quality of the water she drinks, and she loves it so much she even showers in it. So Anne-Marie is literally immersed in the best quality water possible. And since we're made up of water, it's no huge surprise, but in a short amount of time, she's waking up with less aches and pains. Some of that stubborn weight that just wouldn't come off is now coming off because she's purifying her system. And now she feels so empowered that she wants to start improving other areas of her life. She's like, I wonder if I could sleep better, if that would help. I wonder if I could breathe better air. So that's the joy of what we do, is we first work with you on one area of your life. And when you start to see results there, then you start going, I wish you could do this, and I wish you could help my sleep better. I wish you could help me breathe better. And we just work with you at the pace that you want to work at. And so Anne-Marie is well on her way to experiencing her best self and feeling much younger than she used to before she started with the water.
Nice, nice. And I could include the segue of them, and she's now looking at as being a wellness consultant and sharing with her friends and family like that. I could dribble that along the way there as well.
I mean, originally I would just leave it at that because the whole goal of this story is to get someone to try one of those products.
Okay, got it.
And then after like when someone becomes a student in my online course, many of them then say, I want to share this with my other friends because I got so much out of it. I don't really talk to my potential students about promoting it to other people because my whole goal is to get them to be better first.
Okay.
And so that story, remember, the confused mind always says no. And so we want to make it so clear that I want the people to remember the story of Anne-Marie and the water. And you notice how I zoomed out in my story and said, let's remember. And I did a dialogue in that story. When I said to Anne-Marie, you know, we're made up of water, don't you? And she's like, oh my God, you're right, I forgot. That's good storytelling because you feel like you're watching a movie. Yeah. And then the other people go, oh, I forgot. You're right, I forgot that we're made up of water. So then it does make sense that I should be more aware and invest in the water I drink and even the water I'm showering in. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then that's the journey of, then she starts exploring and we're still in her character. Then she starts, I wonder if I could do anything to make myself sleep better. And what about this air I'm breathing? Once she had the awareness of the importance of water, that was just the starting point of her getting to be so much healthier. And waking up, again, the resolution, now she wakes up full of energy, no aches and pains, that stubborn weight that wouldn't come off, it's melting away. It makes total sense because water weight gain and bloat, all that, you just tie that all together. And then people are like, oh, I want to go on that journey that Anne-Marie did.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome.
Great.
John, this is incredible how you've taken something that appears to be so straightforward, but you've really revealed the layers behind it that take something that is often really taken for granted.
Yes.
And because it's taken for granted, it isn't used correctly. And people don't have the right experiences or the right outcomes and results because of it. And you just kind of exposed that and given us some great layers and examples to take something simple and with a bit of practice, we can turn something now that was mediocre in the way that we would express it, share it, and turn it into something powerful and emotionally impactful.
And we have a checklist now, right? We've got those 4 things And
Yeah.
you can start practicing your case stories with each other. And someone could say, oh, I don't really hear a resolution to that story. Or can you describe the problem a little bit better?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, my story is suddenly better.
Yeah.
And remember, the whole goal is to get people to see themselves in that story. You're not pushing anything, Barbara, or neither is Ben with the, you know, the back issue. Is that the kind of journey you want to go on?
Exactly. I love that.
We ask people too, before they start or when they start using these things, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you hurt? So if she's an 8 and we get her down to a 4 or a 3, it's always good to ask that baseline, where are you on that scale? Right. She was totally shocked that the water was going to make that much of a difference in her life. I mean, she knew that she needed to do something, but I did exactly, I mean, I shared the water bit about we're more than 70% water. And if you really want to impact your world of all these things, water would be the first start.
Great.
So planting the seed, the first step of many steps. But yeah.
Remember when you get somebody say they were at an 8 and now they're at a 4, that's a left brain number thing. Turn it into a little bit of a story. So at an 8, she's waking up with aches and pains and can't lose weight. At a 4, she's feeling younger, more energetic, hops out of bed without any aches and pains, and the weight's melting off. Connect those numbers to an emotional story.
Oh,
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. We've got a couple more people that want to have some play with this, John. Is that all right? And can I just say, I am blown away at how you can, on the spot, turn these scenarios into great stories. That's
the goal. We want people to walk away with some actual.
This is great. This is great. So Sandra Thornton, do you want to unmute your line? You raise your hand. Let's have you jump on.
Yes. I would like to approach a lady that I've been kind of shy about approaching. She and her husband, I really like them. I've known them from church for years. And so each time I talk to her, she says, oh, we're fine. We're doing well. But I know she's like late 70s. So there is a need there. And I just need to uncover it. So if I give you information about what I would like to introduce to her first, it would be the water. But this lady and her husband are still very mobile, very active. But at late 70s, I know there's got to be something going on.
Right. Well, if it's okay with you, Sandra, and okay with you, Ben, I'd like to teach another skill, because this is there's a different situation here, which is I'm a little shy. I don't know how to approach somebody. And then I see them at church. I'd love to have like a 90-second quote elevator pitch, even though we're not in elevators anymore, that when I talk to her, I have something really short and concise that intrigues her enough to say, oh, wow, Sandra, that's interesting. Tell me more. So that's another skill in addition to, so the case story is when someone's already said, I'm interested, tell me what you got. Then you tell your case stories. But now we're even before that step. She doesn't want to hear a case story. You have to say something to her to get her to want to even know more, right? So the elevator pitch format is, I'm going to give you an example. You know how everybody needs a good elevator pitch and few people have one? I'm known as the pitch whisperer. And I help people take these elevator pitches that they're currently giving that are boring and get people inspired. And I take them from being confusing to clarity. And when that happens, they get hired on the spot or they start getting referrals. So the problem with most elevator pitches is they start off with, I sell products for, or I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a whatever, representative of. I have a, and we want to make it conversational. So that's why the secret sauce is you start the elevator pitch with, how. Like I could be having a conversation with Ben, it's like, how this has been one of the hottest summers on record? Phew, right? And then we start having a conversation about it. Yeah, and the pools are closed, right? So if you just, and you see how I did that, how everybody needs a good elevator pitch and few people have one. So then I describe who I help and what problem I solve. And I said, I help them, and I take them on that little journey from boring people to inspiring them from confusing them to clarity. So that's my solution. And then the resolution of the elevator pitches, and when that happens, and you can start using sound effects, they get hired on the spot, or they get referrals. And so people often say, wait a minute, I know what a horse whisperer is and a dog whisperer. What's a pitch whisperer? I don't care what they ask me about. I just want them to say, tell me more. So they don't feel like they're getting a 10-minute monologue. It's a conversation. So let me just finish typing this in. So does that make sense? On the, so you know how would be the way I would start a conversation with her. A lot of people struggle in their 70s with, and then pick what you think is the #1 problem that the water solves. What do you think that is? Is it dehydration? Is it low energy?
Lack of hydration affects flexibility, energy.
Got it. Nice. All right, we'll just do that.
Food digestion.
Yep. So here's the elevator pitch that you could use and everyone can use. We'll use it for your particular prospect, this woman in her 70s from church. And this is being recorded, so don't panic if you don't capture it all. I'm sure Ben will share the recording with you. You know how so many people, once they get into their 70s, they're not quite as flexible as they used to be. You know, touching the toes becomes an accomplishment instead of something you do without thinking about. And, you know, you get a little tired. You're like, gosh, is it nap time yet? And it doesn't have to be like that. What we found is that when people start hydrating with the quality water, that water is not the same. That there's a difference between water. Once they have that awareness and they start drinking water, I know for myself, once I started drinking this water, I can touch my toes, I jump out of bed, I feel like I'm decades younger than I am, all from drinking this water. And so a lot of people are just fascinated. They're like, wow, can I have a sip of this water? Is this the fountain of youth? What's going on? So that's, you know, and if you just said that, that might intrigue her to say, well, oh, I could have a free sample of that water and taste it and see, and I could try it for whatever. So that's, see how I made it playful and conversational? Like I don't just say flexible. I'm like, suddenly touching your toes is a big accomplishment. And like 3 o'clock, is it nap time yet? We all have those energy things, right? So the water becomes, and if you've experienced that yourself, the more you put that into your elevator pitch, I didn't want to assume you had, but the more personal it is. And it's really short, isn't it? You know how? And do you want to give it a shot? Let me hear your version of it now.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
That's
Hey,
the format. You just literally start out, follow this. You know how? People in their 70s.
All righty. Hi, Claudia. You know how folks in their 70s typically begin to feel things about their body that they didn't used to feel? Well, that is something that just seems to be natural and normal, and many people think that it's just going to happen anyway. But I happen to know of something that might help to alleviate that situation. We really have been privileged to hear about a high quality water that's hydration personified. It's really simple to use, simple to get. Would you like to hear more about that?
Got it. All right. Well, that's a good opening. We got the opening good. I want to make it a little less salesy, a little less pitch-like. It's simply when we start listing characteristics, like it's easy to use and easy to get and all that stuff, we feel people can feel like, oh, we're not having a conversation anymore. You're listing benefits. So you personally experienced this, right? And so I happen to know a much more personal way of saying that would be, you know how once you start to get in your 70s, you lose that flexibility, you lose your energy. I know because it happened to me when I hit this age. And what I found was when I started drinking water that was filtered and had all this hydration benefits to it, that my first shock was not all water's the same. And you might think that too, because I thought that at first, but it's not the same. And when I started drinking this kind of water, I started feeling more flexible and energetic. And I just love telling other people about it in case they're stuck where I was.
John, this is so perfect without you even knowing anything about our special water. And the Thorntons every Friday night, and now every other Friday night, do Happy Hydration Hour and talk about it. So it's so easy to go into the features and the benefits, and you know, which we've done so much of. So the timing for this is absolutely perfect. And it's better to be like John and not know what a wellness home is or what any of the products do. Just tell those stories of the benefits. Perfect. Yeah.
And you just, and you know, the way I ended my elevator pitch for Sandra versus the way she did, the whole goal is I leave it for them to be intrigued enough to ask a question. I'm not asking if they want to know more. I'm just like, so I just love doing this because it worked for me. And then you stop. Because here's another secret if you're taking notes. Comfortable people, confident people are comfortable with silence. I'll type it in the thing. Confident people are comfortable with silence. And Ben knows as a keynote speaker, you have to take pauses. Yeah. You have to let some space go between you want to buy, you want to know more? Should I keep talking? You just tell your story and then you stop, whether it's an elevator pitch or a case story.
I was just going to say, John's doing a great job of adding his notes in the chat. Please know you can download and save the chat for your own personal reference if you wish before you leave the call today. So the call is being recorded, but you can save the chat as well. So just down the bottom, the right-hand corner, you got those 3 little dots in the square. Be sure to click on that and it will say save chat and it'll download it to your computer for you so you can keep these notes. So,
technical question. If I save the chat and there is more written, do I get the part that I didn't get as well?
Save it at the end. So I'll let you know when we're at the end of the call and just save it then.
Great.
Any comments in the chat about what's been most useful so far? Because now we've got like the last 10 minutes together. I just want to see what's really resonating with you. Is it the case story? Is it what Madeline was saying about don't push a bunch of facts and figures, don't overwhelm people with data, tell stories, pull people in with an elevator pitch that's short and concise? Anything that's,
I love what Carlin said when she said she loves the resolution information.
Nice.
I think that what Sandra brought up is a great point. Only I don't think I would say anything about the age of being 70 because people are pretty, they don't like the. But you could also say maybe as we begin to age, we're not quite as flexible as we used to be, and that would relate you and her together because you probably, like me, we're all about the same age. So as we begin to age, this is a problem,
Yep, it shows empathy.
Instead of saying, well, when you get to be 70, maybe she's not 70, maybe she's only 65 and you made her 5 years older and you already struck out there because, so.
More stories, less detail.
I don't know if that's a relative point or not, but.
No, I think it's very relative, Bob. Thank you. Because the more open your conversation is, people expands it. Like, oh, this isn't for me unless I'm 70. So just as we age is a more generic way of saying it. Is there a difference in sharing other stories versus your personal story? They can be combined, Barbara. So you can say, you're telling the story of Anne-Marie, and you can also say, I also have experienced the same benefits that she has. That kind of stuff. So it's not just, you're like dispensing something without using it. So that's where you put that in. How to get referrals from your stories. Great question, Connie. This is so great. Dee's loving this. Great. And Yoko saying, more stories, less detail. When you tell a really good story, whether it's your own personal story in an elevator pitch or so a case story, and then you have an emotional hook. And I'm going to type this in there. When you tug at people's heartstrings, they open their purse strings. And that's the power of storytelling, right? That's a sound bite. That's what you can remember that now. You'll be telling your other friends, other people who join under you, right? And become part of your team. Now you have this tool in your toolbox to say, here's what I learned about storytelling. We need to be tugging at people's heartstrings. So when you tell a good story, that's how you get referrals, because people aren't going to remember all the details of the water or the thing that helps your back. They're going to remember the story of this woman who was in so much pain she couldn't enjoy her life, and now she does. That's the story they'll share. Or they'll hear a friend complaining about that same problem, and they're like, oh, I heard a story about somebody who did that, and they started drinking this kind of water. Maybe let me introduce you to Barbara or Sandra. That's how that becomes referrals, because they're going to hook into the story and remember the story, and that's how you get referrals. Just be like, oh, my friend had that problem. She's drinking water and showering with it. Seems to work, you know. So,
John, I'm mindful of your time, and I want to make sure that I'm getting private messages here saying that people are loving this. People want more. You've left people literally salivating, I think, with going, we need more. We need more. I could spend not just a day in workshops and training with you, but I could spend a weekend and more. And I'm sure everyone here and everyone that isn't here would be feeling the same way. That there's just information and just experience just exudes from what you've been giving. And I'm loving it, loving it. So people are saying, what's your book? People are saying, where's your website? People are saying, yeah, how can we connect? So can you put that in the chat, please?
Yes. So my website is my name, johnlivesay.com. If you text the word pitch on your phone to 66866, and I'll put that in the chat as well, I will send everybody a free PDF of my top storytelling tips. And if you don't want to use your phone to do that on your texting, you can go to my website and put in your email, and you get the free PDF of top storytelling tips. And then, you know, my book is better selling through storytelling. And I've turned it into an online course. And this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's in the course. And then I have a private Facebook group where we meet like this and work on everyone's individual stories. And the magic really happens, Ben, when, let's say, Barbara was going to give Sandra's elevator pitch, as if she didn't know Sandra and didn't know her products, and then vice versa. Because on a very psychological level, we all want three things. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be acknowledged. And when that happens, when other people that you've never met before, unless you're in my Facebook group as a student, start telling a story of someone else's elevator pitch, they feel seen, heard, and acknowledged because they said something that a stranger could remember and is no longer a stranger, and they become their brand ambassador. And that's the magic of storytelling. And in the last minute, I just want to close with this phrase. We all have heard this concept of always be closing, right? ABC, have you heard that before? That's traditional sales training. And I want to replace that with